Hey, it's Ghost with Combat Sports Supply. Today we're going to be going over some basic upgrades you can put in an off-the-shelf entry-level AEG. Basic entry-level AEG, you want to get a little more performance, significantly more accuracy, a little bit more range out of these. There's a few things you can do that'll do that real quick. We're not going into the internal upgrades. Those are a bit of a mess. They're a lot more technical. We're just going into the basic, most productive upgrades you can do to these. The first and probably biggest upgrade you can do to any entry-level AEG is put a barrel in it. Standard AEGs will generally have what's called a wide bore barrel. There are semi-tight bores and there are tight bore barrels you can put in them. I'm going to throw a bunch of numbers at you now. Sorry, it's going to be quick. Wide bores tend to be about 6.08 millimeters. Semi-tight bores are about 6.05, and 6.03 and lower is going to be your true tight bores. So those are the measurements are all in millimeters. Doesn't seem like much. You're talking about tenths of a millimeter, but a 6.03 barrel will have a significantly higher accuracy than a 6.08 millimeter. So as far as why those tenths of a millimeter are important, you have a BB that is 5.95 plus minus very small amounts, millimeters in diameter. At 6.08, there's enough room for that to bounce down the barrel and a lot of air to get around it. With the smaller diameter barrels, you're getting more push from the actual compression and it doesn't have as much deviation down the barrel. The most common one to use is a 6.03. I have a fairly long one right here. So first, once this is in your gun, it will provide a little bit of an FPS boost, 20, 30 FPS, but it's primarily an accuracy, and I'll explain that. As far as your standard 6.08 millimeter barrels, you'll see I have two of the new ones. This is approximately your aim diameter at 150 to 180 feet. So what do I mean by that? The length of those two barrels stuck end to end is where your BB will fall, somewhere within that giant circle. When you put your upgraded 603 barrel in it, it's going to hit something about this big around. As you can see, the greatest benefit to putting a tight bore of any form in your gun is going to be your accuracy. A lot of guns might not need this. A lot of the newer guns are coming with tight bores in them, so you may not even need to do this step. You'll notice from the AEG I was holding earlier, it's a fairly short barrel. You can put a longer barrel in this, but what are you going to do with it? Well, it's going to stick way out the end. A lot of people will put a suppressor on it to hide that extended barrel so they get the longer barrel length, but it looks cool. If you are going to get one of these and put it in your gun, we did do a video on how to do that installation, so go take a look. So let's say you've done this step or yours came with a tight bore in it. There is one other thing you can do to increase the consistency of the accuracy of your AEG, and that would be the upgrade. So what are those things? Well, they're a replacement hop-up unit. Most default guns will have this little side wheel hop-up unit in it, and they're okay. They're not particularly good. So if you don't know what these do, they adjust the backspin of the BB. There's a little lever that pushes down on a nub that gives the BB backspin. The more consistent that contact is, and even that contact is, the more accurate and consistent the gun will be. And that would lead me into these. These are buckings. These go inside of your hop-up unit and are that little nub that I was talking about that pushes down on the BB and gives it the consistent backspin. So as far as a hop-up goes, these will all be rotary hops. They're a much improved version of the standard side wheel hop that I was showing you earlier. The wheel actually rotates around the axis of the barrel and stays in place a lot easier. So all of the ones I've shown you today are rotary hops. They're the ones that work the best. They have the best maintenance of hop position and the most consistent hop. So what do I mean by hop stability? Well, in less well-made hop-ups, this wheel will move as you shoot, or if it's the side wheel, it will actually just move as you move the gun. These are by far the best ones I have used in any of my guns, and it's a max hop-up unit, and they work great. As far as the bucking you put in your hop-up, there are a crap load of options for this. I'm not going to go into them all today. We'll do a future video on that. As someone who works on guns and does tech work, this is probably 70% of the performance you can upgrade in a gun, if not more. It's honestly the cheapest thing you can do to it, and it's the thing I do to every gun I own.
Don't be a fool!